Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Truckee. My name's Raven Whittington. I'm an attorney with Porter Simon. I'm also the vice chair of the Chamber Board and your host this morning. Thanks for coming at the new start time, 8 o'clock. It sits well with me. I hope it sits well with all of you. That extra hour of sleep, especially when it rolls into winter, will be nice. So this morning we have a panel, a little bit different than just one person talking. We have 5 media members, and they're going to be telling us about the important role that media plays in our mountain community. But before that, let's thank our sponsors. The presenting sponsors is Kelly Brothers Painting. The latte sponsors are Town of Truckee, East River PR, Tahoe Forest Healthcare System, Tahoe Mountain Realty, Porter Simon. Cappuccino sponsors are Pacific West Crest Wealth Planning and Mountain Hardware and Sports, Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation, Got Dogs, JK Architecture Engineering, Wild and Rough, Mount Lincoln Construction, Auerbach Engineering Corporation, Dixon Realty, Truckee Tahoe, and NV5, along with our media partners, a number of whom are here on the panel: Truckee Tahoe Media, 101.5, Truckee Tahoe Radio, Sierra Sun, excuse me, and Moonshine Inc. And then, as always, the people that put this together: Jessica Penman and the Chamber staff, Ruth Gearsey, Melissa Williams, and Randy Braun. And the committee: Kelly Cutler, Naomi Peacock, Ernie Grossman, Gerald Herrick, Tony Lashbrook, Jim Porter, Deb Ryan, Ted Owens, and Jess Carr. And thanks to Rory and the team for Truckee Tahoe Media making this happen, the town of Truckee for letting us use their chambers. So, with that, let's go around the room and do the introductions. How about we start right here?
My name is Laura Visconti. I'm one of the owners of Drink Coffee Do Stuff.
Thanks. Hey.
Hi, Meg, Director of Marketing, Tahoe Forest Health System.
Erin, CC Media.
Taylor, CC Media.
Stand up, please.
Jessica wants you all to stand.
They can't see you over there.
CC Media.
I'm Peggy McElfish, CC Media.
Kristen Tabor, CC Media.
You want me to go? I'm Jessica Penman, President and CEO of the Truckee Chamber. Allie, DOP Construction.
I'm Bill Greeno, Quality Automotive Servicing and Chamber of Commerce Board Chair. I'm also the Board Chair for Nevada County Planning Commission, and we are currently looking for a replacement for me. So if
Good luck with that.
Are you volunteering?
Yeah, Jim, are you volunteering?
And this is Sheila Greeno, Quality Automotive Servicing also.
On the back.
I'm Sarah Miller, local graphic designer, namely working with regions, independent news media, Moonshine.
Kim, resident and guest.
Kelly Cutler, Truckee Chamber Board of Directors, and my new boss is here with Nevada County Arts Council, Eliza.
Nice. Start in the back there.
My name is Patricia. I write social media for the Truckee Arts Alliance.
Eliza Tudor, Executive Director, Nevada County Arts Council. Cannot be more thrilled to welcome Kelly to our team, along with Patricia and my colleague Michael Lynn.
Michael Lynn, I'm Social Media and Community Engagement for Nevada County Arts Council.
David Gregory, Crosswinds Truckee Church, and this is my daughter Lily.
Jim.
Jim Porter, working on retirement from this guy right there.
Bill Schaller, Broker Manager, Dixon Realty.
Anna Grahn Nielsen, Dixon Realty, Truckee Optimist Club.
April Cole, Friends of the Truckee Library.
Mary Brolio, Truckee Tahoe Radio.
Maria Kiss, Sales at Truckee Tahoe Radio.
George Tutoris, I just represent myself.
It's good. We all should.
Sarah Van Sicklen, Truckee North Tahoe Transportation Management Association.
Julie Peterson, Controller at Elements Mountain Company.
Let's go all the way back, Chris.
Chris Tennant, Mount Lincoln Construction in Capital.
I'm Alex Bihalski. I'm the Communications Specialist for Truckee Donner PUD.
Ryan Ochoa, Battalion Chief and Public Information Officer for Truckee Fire.
Bonnie York, Sierra Sun.
Eric Hornvet, Wildfire Prevention Manager with Truckee Fire.
Brent?
Laura Brown with the Excellence in Education Foundation.
Katie Bonamati with the Truckee Sanitary District.
Diane Pacioli with the Truckee Sanitary District.
Annette, Truckee Sanitary District.
One and all the way in the back there. Hi.
Hi, Barney Dooley, just a Truckee resident.
It's good. I like those. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Miranda Jacobson. I'm with the Sierra Sun and the Tahoe Data Tribune.
All right, thank you all for being here. Now I'm going to introduce the panel. We're going to start with Laura Partridge, who is here closest to me. She's the owner of CC Media Agency with over 40 years experience in the industry. Laura is well known for her established industry relations and ability to get even the toughest project implemented. For over 32 years, she's been planning, creating, and negotiating media plans for the agency's diverse clients, regionally and nationally. Prior to founding CCC Media, in 1991, Laura worked at radio stations in New York, Santa Barbara, and Reno. She's worked in sales, promotions, and training, market research, copywriting, production, as well as live voice work, and has held positions as general sales manager, advertising consultant, news director, public service director, and even a disc jockey. She's a certified radio and digital marketing consultant through Radio Advertising Bureau and is also certified in Arbitron's PPM Market Research and Ratings Program. And has social media certificate from UNR. She's involved in the community, serving on multiple boards, most recently Reno Tahoe Entrepreneurs Organization. And in her little downtime, she enjoys traveling, and her newest hobby, e-biking through the Sierra. Thank you, Laura, for being here. Next up, we have Rory Farrell, who is next to Laura. Rory is the manager of Tahoe Truckee Media. Rory's first broadcast program was KUOP-FM in Stockton when he was a freshman at the University of Pacific in 1973. After graduating from San Diego State in TV film, he worked for KSTN Radio in Stockton and then worked for KXTV Sacramento in master control. A 10-year stint at the Channel 31 followed, then a decade which included Sutter Health and the media office for the California Department of Corrections, and another 4-year stint at Channel 31. After 10 seasons working with the AV crew for the Sacramento Kings at Arco Arena, Rory began teaching video production at Truckee High School, took over management of Truckee Tahoe Media in 2014, and he's serving on the national board of the Alliance for the Community Media. Thanks, Rory, for being here. Next up, we have Mayumi Peacock, hailing from the U.S., from a U.S. military family and a graduate of the University of Florida. Mayumi has lived in several corners of the country and globe, yet Truckee Tahoe has been her home for more than 2 decades now. She's the founder and publisher of Moonshine Inc., the region's award-winning independent newspaper, which continues to be created by, for, and the community. Other passions include horses, books, healthy living, humane food, and the little peacock that's on the way. Welcome. Thank you. JD Haas is up next. JD's position at 101.5 has changed over the years from big hair rocker to man on the scene to the fearless leader of 101.5 Powder Patrol. Just as the station has changed into what it is today, Tahoe's local independent radio station, JD's position at the station has changed. He's now the owner at the station and proud to be a part of this community. This is a great place to live and do this thing called life. Fear not to his long-term listeners and supporters. All of the above positions are well alive and being lived out through this new position as he lives the Tahoe life. JD Haas, thank you. And finally, last but not least, is Rob Galloway, who started his career in media at the Nevada Appeal in Carson City in 2002. Following his 10 years there, Rob took on a position for the key account advertisements manager with the Reno Gazette-Journal before becoming a publisher for the Tahoe Tribune in 2016. In recent years, Rob's also been assisting the Sierra Sun as the ad director. Rob, thanks for being here. Quite the panel we have this morning. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you for joining us. And unfortunately, Katie Schaefer with East River PR is not able to join us today. She is recovering from an injury. So we have these 5 panelists with it. A little bit different. I'm going to be asking the questions. You all can hold your questions till the very end. We'll have a time for that. And we're going to go down the list. I think we'll go this way, then we'll come back so everybody will have an opportunity. So the first question that we have this morning for the panel, what is one significant local matter that you handle as part of your daily work, which the community should take note of? Additionally, how do you suggest that local media outlets and creators can skillfully address the diverse needs and interests of the community? Laura, we'll start with you. Should work.
Got it? It's interesting that I'm the one answering this question at the first because it's really about public relations and how we work with media. And my company and we purchase media. So all I want to do is wherever I can buy the media I want, and that's what we're seeking to do. So if I look at the local matter, my job is to take our clients, or my team's job is to take our clients and to get their word out through paid media avenues. And so when I look at the rest of the team here, they can address the question a little bit better than I.
That's fine.
So
now,
to start this, I was like, this is the worst question on the whole thing for me to answer. So if I could have been the last one, I could have tag teamed. But
you'll get your turn. Rory, you want to take it?
Sure. Rory O'Farrell. I'm the manager at Tahoe Truckee Media. We are a non-commercial, nonprofit media center. I serve on the national board of the Association for Community Media. We are 1,600 stations nationwide, and we are dedicated to free speech and serving the underserved voices of our markets. To pick one thing that we've accomplished in the last few years that you didn't read about or hear about is there are 4 boardrooms like this where we do weekly or monthly meetings for the different elected boards in town. We had to rewire this, redo it for Zoom, change almost weekly in order to bring the people of this area the public meetings where the people's business is done, because you couldn't attend in person. It was an amazing feat. We thank all of the boards and staff here, especially at Town Hall, who worked with us. It was a real behind-the-scenes thing, and it changed so often because Zoom and Google Meets would change without warning you, and so you'd walk in here and things had to be configured completely differently, and we did it over and over again, and now it's kind of the norm. We're going to continue to do that to bring people to people's work, which goes on here.
Thanks, Roy. Naomi?
In terms of local matters, there's a lot. I could say housing crisis, wildfire, education, governmental policy, upcoming public meetings. But I think that what we do at Moonshine that's all encompassing with all of those is context, because we live in a world today where it's a world of infobesity. Some people estimate that 90% of the data we have is created or has been created in the last few years. We have social media keeping people glued to their phones, especially our youth, and we don't have enough attention for all of the information out there. So I feel that our job is to give context at our paper. Our job is to help people understand the why, the behind the story, what's really going on. And there's a quote from a NBC journalist that I really love. He says that, a bomb can go off in Afghanistan, and you can read about it immediately on Twitter, but you don't really truly understand what's going on. Who's over there? Why did this happen? That's what journalism can do.
Yeah. JD?
JD Haas, 101.5 Truckee Tahoe Radio. So you actually left the third part of this question out, too, if you look at your deal. You didn't pick up the last line. But we'll start with the first one. What is a significant local matter you handle as part of your daily work? Well, today, my matters change every single day. I walked in this room today. We had lightning yesterday. This morning, we have fires. What's the first thing I do? I go to my PIOs. I get the information for our fires. We have a sawtooth fire going on up here. When I left the station last night, we had another fire going on off of Soda Springs. Our job's to gather that information and get it to you so you can take that information and use it to the best of your needs. We also come in the mornings as well, because I'm going to a daily, because our product is immediate. we bring you immediate information right now. So if there's a problem or a situation in the community, we're there that exact time. We're doing our best. We may be a half an hour behind at times because we all know what staffing's about here. It's a difficult thing. But I will tell you one thing. I just made a major investment in our radio station, and I'm kind of also disappointed we're not going into the first set of questions because I had just invested a substantial amount of money into our radio station. Well, the first one's all about technical, AI, digital, streaming. This whole radio station started at a picnic table on a Mackie 12 against a window. Today, we just reinvested across the board. We're ready for AI. We're ready for the digital dashboard. You can now take us all the way from the Bay Area straight to Truckee or wherever you go. So that's my daily project. Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? I'm JD Haas. Go ahead, man.
I took maybe a little bit different approach to this question as far as, something to take note of that maybe people don't think of. And it's really more the fact that we're human and we care. And to give you an example of that, and I believe it was last year, there was a really unfortunate accident where a local person lost their life in a vehicle accident. And normally the procedure from the sheriff's office, they do not release, details. They do not release the name of the victim while they're under investigation or after they have contacted the family. And for this particular case, for whatever reason, they released the information to us, the name of the deceased, and we published the information that they gave us because we figured that they had done their protocol. And I got a very frantic call from a very close friend of the deceased saying, the family doesn't know. We really don't want this to be the first place that this family finds out. Can you please take the story down? And I took it down because it's the right thing to do. When you think about caring in family and trying to foster a sense of community, I think that is the right thing to do. Even though we had the information, we waited, and then we put it up. I think it was a day later that we put it up. But I think it's really important to know that, when you think about needs and interests of the community, it also revolves around care of the community. And I think that really pushes into the fact that we really need to listen and we really need to make sure that we're covering the right topics for the community, and it's the topics that they care most about, while also fostering that sense of community at the same time.
Thanks, Rob. We're going to go back to you on the second question, which is, could you share some examples of successful initiatives you are a part of where media played a pivotal role in uniting community members and encouraging meaningful interactions? What role does storytelling have in your line of work?
I don't know if it's necessarily initiative, but I also am, while being publisher of the Sierra Sun, I'm also publisher of the Tahoe Daily Tribune, which covers South Lake Tahoe and into Incline Village. And the best example that I can think about this is what happened a couple years ago with the Caldor fire. Yesterday was the anniversary of the day that the Caldor fire started, so I thought it was somewhat timely. But when everybody knows what happened with the Caldor fire, we saw an evacuation of historical means as far as being able to successfully evacuate the entire South Lake community. And when you think about the Tribune's coverage in that, we had family members, we had people, everybody was displaced. And we were among the people that were trying to do the exact same thing while covering the news at the same time. We didn't have the means to be able to get the printed copy of the newspaper out in South Lake Tahoe because, one, there was nobody there to get it, but there was also nobody to deliver it. And so we also had circulation in Incline Village, and those people needed to be up to date. So what we did is we pivoted. We pushed the information out in the printed copy into Incline Village. We took printed copies that would normally go to South Lake Tahoe. We put that into the evacuation centers to make sure that those people who didn't have maybe electronic means to get up-to-date information on the fire and what was going on, we gave them the printed copy. And then at the same time, we were also going everywhere. If you remember that fire, there were people in Truckee giving up their homes for people that were displaced. There were people in Incline Village that were feeding the firefighters. There were so many things that were happening with the community that we had to try to cover all those things, and in addition, cover the fire at the same time. We needed to keep the community up to date, and then at the same time, we needed to tell the stories of the good work that the people were doing. So maybe it's not necessarily initiative, but I think it shows us coming together and really taking the storytelling aspect of it along with the facts and the information and trying to keep people up to date while also having to pivot at the same time, and something that we've never seen before here in the region.
Thanks.
JD, so thank you for acknowledging that Truckee was taking in evacuees. We actually had vacancies in our building downtown, and we were supplied by the Red Cross, and we actually took in evacuees in some of our units downtown. I was a lead on the story for Caldor Fire on the radio, helping run all the information from South Lake. Just so you know, we broadcast hotter in South Lake Tahoe than we do in Truckee. Our back vibe reaps right across the South Shore. You can take us all the way to the Carson Pass. And I had many listeners that listened and called yesterday as well about other things. Getting that information to the people was a key role in guiding them to safety and where to go, where to take their large animals, where to go to find shelter, where to come to. When is the West Shore going to close down? When is Emerald Bay going to close? Can you get around through Emerald Bay back and out of the fire zone? So that's another one. He also brought up Kylie Rodney. And Kylie Rodney is a friend of my daughter's. She worked with her. So I had really close ties with Kylie Rodney's story, and I was a lead on that story. If you were listening to the radio every morning, Nevada County used our radio station. I worked directly with Nevada County sheriffs and also as well the FBI and the investigators to help get the correct information. As we saw, there was a lot of incorrect information in social media during the Kylie Rodney incident. Our job was to direct people to bring truthful content. Two other instances I'll be quick on is number one, the canceling of the 4th of July fireworks. That right here in Truckee. That is a big division in our community. Keep them, don't have them. We allowed both sides to our radio station to talk about each side, and yet still you can find it on demand, and it's right there. And lastly, the 2040 general plan. Our community is in an uproar over the 2040 general plan and where this is going. There is complete division within that. We gave both sides the opportunity to speak in full on the radio for 30 minutes, and you can find it all back on demand again at Community Spotlights. But when they were getting 5 to 20 people maximum in this room right here, we got involved at the end. This room filled, overfilled. They had to open a second venue because of the engagement when we brought it to the community of this is what's going on and let both sides speak.
Naomi?
I just saw your T-shirt, JD. I love it. It says, "I'm a broadcaster. What's your superpower?" I'm going to go down a list of impactful stories that we've had over the years. Over a decade ago, we published an investigation into the hospital district. That coverage looked at illegal financial ties, and that led to a county district attorney investigation and triggered a shift in leadership at the district. We reported, and we're the only journalistic outlet to report on the lead cables under the water on the west shore of Tahoe. Our coverage led to almost immediately a settlement with the cable owners and an agreement to pull the cables out, though that story does continue. Our reporting put the heat on TTSA, the Tahoe Truckee Sanitation Agency, and that also caused them to keep a close eye on their management, triggering a big shift in leadership there. And one of our most in-depth pieces about wildfire looked at how the Forest Service and CAL FIRE differ in their strategies. And this is a topic that is well known on the undercurrent across the West and impacts the West, but never had it been taken to the journalistic platform. So I give examples of these hard news pieces because to me, that is what media is about. It's to serve the public interest and to protect our democracy. And to protect our democracy, we cannot do that without a watchdog press.
Thank you. Rory?
Thank you. I'm glad you brought up the general plan, because this is kind of an illustration of what really concerns me about a lot of the lack of journalism left, thanks to budget cuts mostly. Staffs are shrinking at newspapers, at radio and TV newsrooms. We rely more and more on PR agencies and PIOs and, hand out information, which is good for the normal sort of run of the town issues. But when you take a sort of a 5-year general plan process that culminates in impassioned meetings like that, it's really important to get that covered. And for all the people that were in the room, there were twice as many who watched those meetings live and afterwards because they were returning to the meeting. What was said, or we couldn't be there for 7 hours that night. Recently, the town of Truckee granted a 12-month contract to a local videographer, a fine fellow who does remarkably good work. But the whole point is to do these little vignettes that get the town's message across. But again, this is paid PR or publicity, if you will. At the same time, the town also approved a new retention of documents policy. And these are documents that go from arrest records to planning department and everything in between. And looking through it, it's over 100 pages long. Got to page 98 before it finally addressed the monthly video recordings we do of these lengthy meetings. And they have a 90-day retention policy. It doesn't matter what happens to those recordings after 90 days. Now, I was one who was celebrating last week when the local historical society decided to take over the Sierra Sun's archives of over 100 years and preserve those papers. I think that institutional knowledge needs to be preserved. And there's no way I'm going to destroy any of those recordings we have. I think a great place for them to end up would be in the new library, because all of them could fit on a hard drive the size of a paperback. But I think we have to have those around, because 15 years from now, this staff won't be here, this council won't be here, and they'll be doing a general plan again. And I think it should be required that they go back and look at those tapes or recordings from this spring and see what those impassioned participants had to say. Because it's not good enough just to go back and look at the PowerPoints and the minutes of the meeting and who moved this and who seconded that. There's no soul there. So that's a concern I have. We are depending more and more on and less on handouts and PIO information, and less on good, solid journalism. That's my spiel. Thank you.
Laura?
And now we get to the media buyer. So when I look at this question, I was looking at what campaigns have we done in the region, in Truckee and North Tahoe in the past 32 years and 26 years of living here. And I actually think about, we buy media in a lot of markets, Reno and Sacramento and San Francisco and nationwide. Oh, I'll speak a little louder. My voice carries pretty well. From those DJ days with JD. The media market of Truckee and North Tahoe is really difficult. And to reach the community here made of second homeowners and primary homeowners and tourists, and how do you actually get the message out? Between all of the avenues here, but Sierra Sun's out weekly, KTKE, you have to know about it, Moonshine Monthly, and the channel, I know it as Channel 6 from the 90s. You have to know about these things and how do you access it. And so as a media buyer and trying to get the message out to this community, we have to look at all the avenues in which we can. And I think the most exhaustive and exhausting thing that we did over the last 32 years was actually during COVID and working with the hospital system. And every day, literally every day, 7 days a week, I was on the phone with the hospital marketing director, figuring out what was the latest from the federal government, what was the latest from the state, what was the messaging we had to have out there, because we bought media to make sure to figure out how to get that messaging out to this community. And it was over a year long, and at the end of it, the whole hospital marketing team, my team, we were spent. Like, I've never looked at that. So when we look at the media mix of that, the combination of everybody on this panel here, plus every digital avenue we could do, social media, programmatic ads, you name it, that was our biggest impact in letting the community know, can you go out? Where can you go? Can you go to the hospital? Is the hospital open? What happens if you have an emergency? Where do you, all of that messaging and how that worked was challenging but fun.
Thank you. I'm going to mix it up a little bit. Naomi, I'm going to start with you on this one. Looking at it from a media standpoint, what are the primary obstacles when it comes to effectively conveying your messages to the public?
Thank you, Raven. I think this is a question that really we could have an entire panel about. Rory was alluding to it with the challenges of journalism, and I think it's a grave one for our country. Moonshine, we're an endangered species. We're one of 10% of the country's media that is independent. And I think that is showing in many of the fractures that we have in this country. There was an Atlantic opinion piece last week, and I'm just going to read a little bit from it. On average, 2 newspapers close each week. Some 1,800 communities that used to have local news now don't. Many of the papers still hanging on are forced to make do with skeleton staffs as their owners, often private equity firms, seek to cut costs. The number of newspaper newsroom employees dropped by 57% from 2008 to 2020, according to a Pew Research study, leading to thousands of ghost newspapers that barely cover their community. I think this is a topic that most of us are somewhat familiar with. But if you add to that the questionable tactics of the big tech companies, they're monopolizing the media market, as well as other markets like retail. I understand that Amazon is at 60% of e-commerce market. And Facebook and Google's combined revenue for digital advertising is more than $200 billion, which is over half of the global market for digital advertising. Meanwhile, newspaper advertising, my market, plummeted from $49 billion in 2006 to just $16 billion in 2017. We also have to think about, I think it's really important to look at the big tech's impact on our mental health and this amplification of hate that we're seeing. And anti-monopoly enforcement is on the way. It's a movement across the globe. You'll see many lawsuits in various countries trying to take big tech to task. But these kind of legal lawsuits move glacially slow. I mean, they take sometimes decades to get through the legal system. And meanwhile, we are dealing with this situation, Moore's exponential law of, the processor speed doubling exponentially, which is even more speedy than that when he proposed it 40 years ago. So to circle back to the question, I think the primary obstacles for journalism and conveying the truth to the public is financing, what we need to do, and maintaining independent voices in our society. Without it, I feel like we lose civil discourse and our products become homogenous and the world becomes honestly quite brave new world.
JD.
The question. Effectively conveying the truth to the public. So
it's
I'm going to
not
go
on my list, JD.
It's not on. Well, then I got a whole separate set of questions because I'm special.
Yeah.
And that's okay with me. Because
like
the truth is as you know it today. And it'll come out later with journalism, right? The first part comes out. How do we find our truth? Well, I haven't talked about COVID yet. What did I do with COVID? I picked the phone up every single morning and I called whoever was in charge. I didn't call the PIO. I didn't call the marketing company. I called Harry, leader of the hospital, and said, "Hey, Harry, it's time to talk on the radio." "Hey, Dave, time to talk on the radio." Mayor Polivy was our mayor at that time. I called our district supervisors, if you were listening. I put the people on the radio and let them speak their truth. not what I made of their truth. And that was one way that we kept the story going. And it was fortunate because as a trusted source of media and being trusted by these agencies, we have direct lines of communication to contact these people. So when there's a problem, sorry, Laura, I'm going to call directly the chief of police if there's a problem. I have his cell phone number. That's how it's going to go. I got in trouble for that the other day, but when there's a problem, and not from you, but if there's a problem in this community, I'm not looking to a marketing agency. I'm calling those in charge and to hold them accountable. And I want to hear exactly what job they're doing for us in this community, because that is important to our safety in this community. That's how we get our truth. And another way I'll end with this, Rory, I really hope they don't lose your archive, because your archive is truth from this council member, this table. It's all recorded. And if that disappears on a 90-day, because we are going to have to go back in the next general plan and we are going to have to reference that. And we reference it all the time, as you said. I heard you speak up that 101.5, you're darn right. We can't be here at dinner time every night. So we reference you. We watch your stream of these council members and people speaking for the truth, because it comes straight from their mouth. And then we convey that back to you. That's how it works for us at 101.5.
Rob? I think to build on what Naomi and JD said, I mean, when you talk about the truth, I mean, one of the biggest challenges or obstacles that we face is social media. I think everybody knows and understands the challenge that we have with that. As a news organization, a lot of times you're waiting on confirmation of news and sources and information while it's spreading like wildfire, rumors and information on social media. And you want to try to get out ahead of that, but you also want to make sure that you have the right information to get out to the community. And sometimes that takes time. Sometimes PIOs are responding to other things and they're not responsive to us. I mean, a lot of times it depends on the agencies and what they're doing, and and honestly, the person that's there. Some are better than others as far as response and information goes. But you want to make sure that you get the best information that you possibly can out to the community. And social media, I don't want to say it's against that, but it definitely is not. It doesn't help the fact that you're trying to make sure that you get that information out there when you say, I heard this and I heard this, and then it just snowballs into what other people think. But I think also one of the challenges is that we're all local media up here, and over the past few years there is a very big backlash against national news media. With your connotations of fake news, or they're biased one way or another, or they're bought, and those things trickle down into the local media. We're community based. We want to tell community stories, but so much of that hatred has been shouted out there with the megaphone that you can't trust local news or you can't trust the news sources. Those things trickle down into us, and you have people that don't believe that they can trust us when we try our damnedest to make sure that you can trust us. We're not the national news sources, but we get that stigma attached to us just because we have the same media attached to our name. So I'd say those are two big things that are challenges for sure.
Thank you. Laura?
So I, of course, took this as a media buying perspective. Took the word truth out of there because it's advertising, and really was looking at the market once again in North Tahoe and Truckee. And the biggest obstacle that we face as media buyers in market is how do we get reach and how do we get frequency? How do you utilize the medias that are in front of you? Thank you again. How do you utilize the media that is out there, from the Sierra Sun to Moonshine, KTKE, as well as Google and social and search and programmatic and all of those things, in order to reach the whole community? And how many times are you actually reaching them? When we go back to the fundamentals of advertising, it's all about reach and frequency. How many people are you reaching, and how many times do you reach them per week and per day and per month? And so the obstacles we face in Tahoe in particular is you have a media market where the television is both from Sacramento and Reno, and the cost of that television advertising for a Truckee business or North Tahoe-based business is too expensive. And people are watching that network news. And so how do you reach the people in our community a number of times effectively through the use of our local media plus our national media and our, or not really national media, but our digital media? And so that is our, as a media buying agency, trying to reach this community of locals, second homeowners, and tourists is our biggest obstacle.
Thank you. I change it up a little bit. JD, we don't want to handcuff you, so we've got a whole list. Oh, Rory.
I'll be brief. I think budget obviously is hurting. You know, when you picked up a Sunday paper a few years back, it was £4, and it was all real estate ads, and it was all color car ads. That's all gone away, and it's not coming back. And that's why staffs are shrinking, because the revenue isn't there. And the same holds true for broadcast newsrooms. But it's not just budget, it's also a lack of respect, which Rob mentioned. And I think we as journalists have to be careful not to give up our scruples. How many times do you see a teaser headline for a story, and then instead of putting the lead in the first paragraph, they bury it 8 paragraphs down so that you can fit in 3 ads for chewing gum, right? I mean, and then this is not just local papers. I mean, it's everywhere now. It's online. It's in the online version of the Sacramento Bee or the Gazette. What it tells me is you're giving up the respect you have for your own story in order, to sell sneakers. And when you're writing that story, what is really more important?
Thank you. Sorry, I skipped you.
No trouble.
Trying to wrangle that beast over there. JD, pick a question off your list. You're excited about one of these. And we don't have the same list, apparently, so you go with you. Stu, you.
Okay, well, I'm going to go to question 4 and 5. And the last part is how do you ensure your content you provide is biased? Unfortunately, it's not. We all come from different places. And just because it's not biased does not mean it's the truth. I heard someone walk up to here this morning and talk to a media person and tell them how they loved writing this political content from a liberal view, and how it was being printed, and they did this in our paper for X number of years. So people are going to search their truth. They're going to search across multiple platforms to find their truth. And we all come from a different place. And I think the one thing that brings us all together is we all come from a different place, and we all bring a different view. And if we do not bring a different view, then we are one glob of media that has no outside influences to bring out the truth, is what we're asking for. And then I'll bring in the last question. How do you envision AI and similar technologies contributing to the media? Do I see this for a negative for our community? No, I don't. I do not. I'm fortunately right now working in a house at my other business. The guy's writing code for AI for Google. I've been there for a week. I will tell you that this is going to change. It's as big as the internet when it launched. You are going to see differences in the future, a lot of differences. It is going to be a help for the A player, the A broadcaster in my business. It's going to take research to a much more higher level and help you bring more information quickly to it. But secondly and lastly, we need to make sure of one thing. We need to remember our First Amendment. And we need to remember what democracy is about in America, okay? Democracy is free speech. And I was in Vegas this year, and I walked into this hall of TV broadcasters. There was one guy in a green screen, and he was saying one thing, and it was as big as a movie screen. And on the other screen, he portrayed somebody completely different. And you couldn't tell the difference. And it was happening right in front of our face. So you better get to know who your local trusted media is and get to know who these people are, because there is some big threats coming out there later. And I hope that our government, which regulates us, that does not regulate social media, they are not regulated. I am regulated by the FCC. And I really hope that they can somehow protect our First Amendment and our freedoms.
Thanks, JD. Rob, do you want to speak on bias or AI?
I'll try to go into both, actually.
Yeah,
but
do it.
as far as an advice goes for consuming authentic news, I think you have to really seek out a trusted source and just go with that. Make it your go-to, and know that whatever I'm looking at, I know that this source of information is trusted. It's vetted. I can count on it. For us, we try to. We strive to get both sides of the information or the story. Some stories are pretty straightforward where, you don't need two sides to a story. It's just a straight up story, and here's the information, here's how it impacts, or the details for it. But when you strive to get both sides, and JD kind of alluded to it, is like people are biased. They have their own biases. So, even if you get both sides of the story, you're probably going to have some sense of bias because people are human, and that's just the human nature of it all. But if we can get to that point where, for me, I get probably most of the complaints, and if I get most of the complaints, if I get an equal amount of complaints from the left and an equal amount of complaints from the right, we're probably right where we need to be, right in the center. So I think that's a sweet spot for us to be. On the AI front, just to add, I maybe don't share JD's enthusiasm for it. I know it's coming. I know it's here. But I also have seen reports of AI, that's further along, not report the truth or put information into stories that wasn't true. And I think that could also be a challenge. And I keep seeing this one thing. It's like, just watch one movie, please. As far as AI taking over the world, it's coming. I just really hope if it does come and gets to a point where, we're using it, it's just, if you look at what social media has done to us as a society, I don't think it's necessarily the best thing that's happened to us. I don't know necessarily the best thing. AI is going to be the best thing for us, but it's still new, and I'm open to it. But for me, it's still too early to tell exactly where it's going and how it's going to impact us. So,
thank you, Naomi.
We have to choose. Nobody did yet.
Yeah, I'm not gonna handcuff you if we let JD choose. You choose.
Well, part of the question was how would you recommend people verify the authenticity of what they're consuming?
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to bring up media literacy. And this is a growing movement across the globe, and people are trying to get it into the classrooms. I think it's vitally important. And there are some key questions that they have in the roster of media literacy. So I would recommend getting to know these. And they are: who created the message? And what is the purpose? What techniques are used to attract and hold attention? What lifestyles, values, and points of view are depicted? How might different people interpret this message? And importantly, what is omitted? And as several people have said, or as JD, I think, mentioned, there is no such thing as unbiased people. We're all biased. And I think that's one of the fallacies of journalism, is that we could be unbiased. But one of the things we do at Moonshine is really rigorously check ourselves. We talk to as many people, as many key players as possible. And one of the things I'm really proud of is that we just went to the International Society of Weekly News Editor Conference in Reno. And people are struggling in the industry of getting people to actually contribute to civil discourse and opinion pages. And I think a lot of that is because people have this outlet on, the keyboard warrior. They can just kind of say whatever they want. And when it comes to putting their name behind something, they hesitate. But I feel like our opinion pages are really vibrant and robust. And I think that is one way that we check our bias. We want people to tell us when we got it wrong, when we got it right, what constructively we could do better. And then in terms of AI, I think that it's going to be helpful in a lot of research. It's a pretty powerful thing. The dictionary is basically, an AI resource. I love the synonym finder, the thesaurus. It's one of my favorite tools. But I do think what's going to happen, and what's a very scary point, is that we're going to have the homogenization. We're going to have AI articles built on AI articles, built on AI articles. And you're going to have this majority voice get out there. And these minority voices will get more and more. And I think that's a very, very real scare in our world. And I would recommend everybody to watch Social Dilemma if you haven't seen it. It's a documentary on social media. It has a lot of industry insiders that speak to how this industry was built and the dangers of it. And one of the insiders said in it that our algorithms exploit the human's brain attraction to divisiveness. If left unchecked, they'll feed users more and more divisive or divisive content in an effort to gain user attention and increase time on the platform. This is happening, folks. It is happening, and we know it, and people know it. And so the only way that we can combat it is by becoming educated, informed, and make different choices.
Thank you. Rory?
AI is a tool, and it's going to be used in every industry, properly or improperly. I think it could be held up as kind of a bugaboo at the moment, but I think what we have to really be careful of, and you mentioned it, Mayumi, is what's not being talked about. If you're listening or watching, reading, and you're seeing nothing but news about the local festival this weekend, or who's playing where, or and climate change is not being talked about and being avoided, that's where your editor is letting you down. If poverty is not being mentioned, and it's here, racism, if it's not being mentioned, and it's here, but it's much easier to write about the fluffy stuff, the new building, the grand opening, the ribbon cutting. Just be careful that you're not getting trapped in what some lazy editor is feeding you, and go beyond and ask those tough questions that we need to solve as a community.
Laura?
Right, and to finish it out, I agree with everything that they have said on the the bias side of media, and I think as a local community and the lack of resources for these media outlets, it's really hard to see which way the bias is going because you don't know who to reach out to and you don't have access to the people, and nor do they, because they only have so many resources in order to investigate and in order to talk to the people. And so it makes, even though the news is coming out in the local end as bias-free as they can, including their own biases, it's still a really difficult platform for them. And so when I'm looking at what is truth and where to find the news, it's from more than one source. But as a local community, you really don't have that option. And so that gets harder and harder and harder to decipher what is real and what's not. And on the AI side, on a media buying side, it already has huge impacts. Just in our Google search, Google uses AI to determine our ad copy now for when you are searching for a radio station in Truckee. They plug in that copy. Just yesterday, I was invited to a seminar on how to design your programmatic ad buys, which means on the digital space, targeting the people that you want, and it will serve them ads across the internet wherever they can be found, but programmatic AI, so that I don't actually need to determine my target audience is women 25 to 35 in Truckee. It's going to tell me who I want to be targeting in those audiences. And it sounds really cool, but on the same token, it takes that person on the programmatic side or on the news side actually to move those levers and to really determine if that's correct information or the real information in which, or on the ad bias side, who we really want to reach versus who, based on all the previous information that's been put in Google or programmatically, is going to pull from. So I think it's just checking the basis, and we've used AI for a number of things in the office, and it's interesting because if you change one word in your question to AI, it changes the whole paragraph and the meaning of what you're trying to say. And so I think it's something that we really need to be careful of. And in the news space, I think it's going to be really hard because I won't know if AI wrote the article in the Sierra Sun or if one of your writers wrote it, right? Like, and how that gets influenced, and as resources, especially in the local community and the smaller media outlets, gets tighter and tighter because ad budgets get tighter and tighter because they want to spend them in other places. It's going to be harder and harder for these news outlets to have unbiased or as close to unbiased, truthful, real information out there versus utilizing the AI that will be presented.
Thank you. Before we open it up to questions for the group, we're going to go down from each member of the panel, and they're going to give us a 1 to 2 minute summary of how their particular company contributes to the media landscape of Truckee Tahoe region. We've touched on that a lot, but if you guys want to summarize, Laura, we'll start with you.
All right, well, the easy answer for me is we also publish the Homeowner Association magazines for Tahoe, Donner, North Star, and Glenshire. So they are really easy, targeted solutions to reach those actual homeowners and second homeowners in those communities. But really our pitch would be how we integrate vertical and horizontal integration in media. So how do we utilize the local media companies plus digital media companies to reach those second homeowners and primary homeowners and visitors? We do it for the chamber in a number of ways by geofencing certain areas to reach the locals. We do it with search for the chamber as well, if people searching certain things locally. And then utilizing radio for our other clients to promote season passes for ski areas and other avenues. So it's really about how we reach our reach and frequency vertically and horizontally across media with the limited access that we do have in the local markets.
Thank you. Rory.
So as I said, we are a non-commercial, nonprofit community media center serving the underserved. So we will bring you programs, award-winning programs from across the U.S., from other affiliates. Programs like Gay USA, Empowering Women Everywhere, Native Voices TV. And now we do it in HD. We fought for years to get that. Media centers are supposed to have the same parity as the commercial stations, but of course the Comcasts and Spectrums and Optimums of this world require constant attention by us because they have the deep pockets and the lawyers and the lobbyists. So you can find us on Channel 6, and Channel 106 is our HD. Channel 18 is our government station. 118 is our HD government station. You can find us at TahoeTruckeeMedia.org. And now you can see those two 24/7 channels that appeared on the cable. Now you can see them 24/7 on the internet at TahoeTruckeeMedia.org. And soon we'll be joining Roku and Apple TV. So look for that.
Great. Thank you, Rory. Naomi?
Moonshine Inc. is the independent newspaper of our region, and I think the two key words there are independent, maintain diverse voices for and by the community, and newspaper. It's not just about the paper it's printed on, but it's about journalism, and without that, there is no informed public. Something that I would say about our paper actually comes from Sarah in one of our brainstorming sessions. She reminded us that advertising, we offer a place where the value for advertising is greater because the value of our content is great. And I think that's important to keep in mind, that I think advertising and editorial both coexist very well. The question is, what's the value of both of them? I think that reach and frequency are very important, but I also think that quality is an element that I believe we should all be focusing on. It's been my experience that it's other locals that support locals. And in my mind, that's the same thing with media. It's the local media that supports the local community. And I guess I'll leave with this one quote that I saw. It's just a comment on John Oliver's piece on journalism. He wrote this piece kind of about the importance of local journalism. And there was a comment that said, you either pay for journalism or you pay for not having it.
Thank you.
That's
JD.
Great. That is great quote. First of all, Mary Brolio, Maria Kiss in the middle of the room right there. Thank you for all you do for our radio station. It's not me. We have a whole team down there working together. That's how it works. It's teamwork. It takes a village. For us, it's about the connected car. I want to see how many people rode your bicycle here today. Put your hand up. We got one. Everybody else drove, correct? Yep, that's where we're at. So here's the deal. Cars are changing. Who has a digital dashboard in your car? Put your hand up. Yeah, it's called the connected car. That digital dashboard is very powerful. So what we're doing now is we're actually connecting with our listeners, kind of like the Pied Piper, and bringing them all the way from San Francisco or wherever they're at, and they can listen all the way into Truckee, and they already know where they're going, what they're doing when they're coming here. We're prepared for the connected car, and it's all about the digital dashboard, because that's where the largest number of listeners happen for us. We do have online listenership at TruckeeTowerRadio.com. Last year, we broke 300,000. I think it is the number, right darn close to it. That's what the number is. I don't have one of them in front of me. It's in front of you. That's a big deal for radio. Yesterday, I was on the air. I can watch my listeners in Lubbock, Texas, in Seattle. I can watch them in Des Moines, Iowa. I can see where everybody's listening around the Bay Area. So our most important thing that we can bring to this community is the power of radio, immediacy. That is the number one thing that we bring. But we can also reach out there now with technology, and people can listen to us anywhere, any place, and live the Tahoe life. But finally, all this technology is worth nothing without electricity. It's worth nothing without the internet. And we have seen that so many times in this community that everything has crashed. I'm telling you right now, you crank this up like this, you might be laughing right now, but in a major firestorm,
Drive-by truckers. This comes from,
you go to your radio station right now in emergency. We're going to be there. Because, I'll close on this. There's what is this? Cyber security, a town of Truckee, Pennsylvania. If it happens, they're not going to come here and take over our country. They're going to come and they're going to create a cyber attack, and we're seeing them. They have to come to us and take our radio station down. We are analog. They have to physically take us out to take away our voice. But they can take down many other things. So that's what radio is for us, and we're fortunate to have it here in Truckee.
Thanks, JD. Rob?
I'll try to be quick. We have this amazing coincidence actually right now where we have a reader survey. You can go to sierrasun.com/reader survey. It's for the entire month of August. And it really should be about your news. Are we covering the right things? Are we not covering the right things? It gives you an opportunity to tell us all of that. And I would urge everybody to go there and fill that out to make sure that we are covering the right topics for you. And I think Mayumi was the one who said it. I mean, as far as supporting news media, I think we're fortunate enough to where everybody here is free. You're fortunate enough, and you probably don't know it as far as the community goes, to have so many free news resources that are covering local communities. Not every community have that opportunity. And while the news is free locally, it's not free to produce. There's actually a bill right now that's sitting out there that will give tax rebates to local news outlets for full-time journalists. And they will also, part of that bill, also gives rebates to local businesses to purchase advertising in local media. We hope that that goes through. I think it would be a great thing for local news media outlets. Jury's still out, though, but we'll see. But we would love your support in any way possible.
Thanks, Rob. All right, we're going to take some questions, probably about 5 to 7 minutes. So, audience, you have questions for the panel? Yeah, go ahead, April.
I think that a lot of us lived in a time where we've seen the news evolve, we've seen how social media has evolved and how it's impacted us as adults. Having children who haven't seen what media looked like before social media, how can you locally be a part of educating our kids on how to understand truth in media and actually source out more local resources when they're on TikTok, Snapchat, maybe Instagram?
I want to answer first. So yesterday I was on air and I got a phone call. So April, no, right on the money. How do we do it? How do we foster new people back into old technology? So I'm on the radio yesterday. All of a sudden the phone rings and this guy calls me up and he says, I'm in the car with my daughter and I want to request a song. And he goes, she was at the Blues, Jazz, and Funk Fest, and she's really into this music now. And I know, come on, you just want to request this. All of a sudden, his 11-year-old daughter starts talking to me. 11-year-old. So what did I do? I don't know how many of you were listening yesterday afternoon. I stopped what I was doing. I acknowledged this young lady, 11 years old, on the radio, and I played the music for her, and I thanked her for listening to radio. and helped her understand that real people are actually behind the scenes, not like in some other forms of media. So that was an exact represent what happened to me yesterday, about 3:15.
Anybody else want to take that?
Yeah, Marshall McLuhan said in the 70s, the medium is the message. If the kids in our society are spending 4 to 6 hours a day with a screen in front of their face that they're holding in their hand, then yes, we need media literacy training starting at a very young age, because they're spending more time doing that on a given day than almost anything else they do. And yet we offer no training whatsoever. And I'm a strong proponent of getting more media literacy into early grades and to start making them critical viewers and listeners so that they can weed out the chaff and the lies.
Yeah, I want to emphasize that again, the media literacy and those programs that are actually developed, the curriculum is there. Encourage the local schools to put it into the classrooms, encourage after-school programs to put it in there. And as a family, you can look online and find the media literacy curriculum. In addition, I also agree with the engagement with the youth, and that was one of the missions for Moonshine Inc. in 2023 that we brainstormed, was we really want to up our youth engagement. And it has been working, and it's really neat. We've been having more and more youth write pieces for us, write in, respond to things, and it kind of feeds off of itself. So the more encouragement we can give to the engagement and being a part of actually being the media, I think then they can, they start having that critical thinking. I think it's a great question, April.
I think that you could add, your question was how does the media assist in this? And I think that as a parent, we don't have the tools either, right? We're new to it, and I'm not on Twitter, TikTok. I mean, just not I'm too old. Don't want to spend my time doing that. And so how the media, in my view, how all of us could help is providing, just the list of things that Mayumi mentioned earlier today, providing all of that to the, through our media outlets, like, hey, go online to KTKE and see the media literacy questions, and Sierra Sun could promote them and print them and have them on their website, the whole way down. And we could do it in our magazines too, and really, teaching it from the top down, because we are a small community. It's I think the community's involved, and the parents are a lot more involved in this community than in others, and so the opportunity exists in that space.
Thank you. Rob, you want to address?
I don't know if I have anything more to add than what they said. I would just add, I have 4 children, and it's increasingly hard. It is a very hard thing to try and do. But in our family, in my family, it starts with me and with us educating our kids. So while, we, the media, can try to do a lot of things, we also need help from families to help educate kids while they're young and in their own homes. And if you find out that, they're watching something or listening to something that maybe isn't accurate, help them, educate them as to what is.
Thanks. I think we have time for one more question, maybe. If not, we'll move on. But first, let's thank Laura Partridge of CC Media Agency, Rory Farrell of Tahoe Truckee Media, Naomi Peacock, Moonshine Inc., JD Haas, 101.5, and Rob Galloway from the Sierra Sun. And as a lawyer, a member of the community, thanks for being champions of the First Amendment. It's incredibly, incredibly important. And you guys need to look to the local media to distill and to borrow from Naomi the info BCD that's out there. It's a great term. So thank you so much to the panel for being here this morning. We're going to go around and do some stump speeches. Stump speeches. Yes.
Not really a stump speech per se, but just wanted to say, so I work with the Education Foundation. We partner with the school district. I don't work for the school district. But just want to say that is something that is taught in the classroom and incorporated in is checking reference or resources. What is the source? Including, I know at least at the middle schools, they have the SKUs up there of media sources. So it is something that is addressed. Of course, I think like all things it is so much in our world these days, it could probably be reiterated more. And I agree with your point of making sure we as parents or community members are also on check with that.
Thank you.
Just wanted to throw
no,
that
that's
in.
great. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
Yeah, so we're across from Truckee Church, and so what we've been doing, we've been partnering with TESS, or Truckee Elementary School. We love kids, and so we've been able to take care of about 10% of the poverty rate in that school by providing backpacks full of supplies. And so we got it down with all the other people to get down to $10 a backpack full of everything that's in it. So that's up to you, if you like kids, if you support teachers in the area, you want to partner with us, we have a way to do that. There's this card in front of you. Also, on the other side is for our family park days, we like to not only do events like we do here at Truckee, but we like to create relationships with people, kids meeting kids. I have 3 of my own, and so it's good for parents to come together and kids to come together, just making these relationships and boost up the morale in our community here together.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yes.
I was hoping before we left we could get a nice photo of everyone working with social media instead of against it. Trying to get that message out there.
You're not in the media, are you? Yeah. All right, we can do that for sure. Anybody else? Yes.
Just a quick one. So it might be warm out this week, and we did have some rain, but remember last winter. So make sure you're tuned in, because we will be giving away our cord of wood coming up soon.
All right, thank you.
During the fire. Get a choice.
Yes.
I'll do a quick one. As many of you may know, Truckee is a California designated cultural district. There's a assembly bill before the Senate right now called AB 812 that would allow local government to set aside 10% of low-income housing specifically for artists. So if you want to go to Nevada County Arts social media, you can find a link to sign a letter to send to your senator so that they know to vote yes.
Right. Yes, Rory.
Football starts Friday. Truckee's at Colfax, 7 o'clock, Channel 106, or the NFHS network online.
Go ahead.
I just actually wanted to take a moment since the Caldor fire was mentioned. I was born and raised in South Lake Tahoe, and my parents still live there. And I just really wanted to say thank you, because during that window of time, it was really rough, and our house almost burned to the ground, and we were evacuated, but the news that you provided was really priceless. So thanks.
Thanks for sharing that. Yes.
All right, yeah, going on with fire. Something we do want to say is, we've kind of had what seemed like a cool summer, but all of our fuel modeling is we're back in average fire weather. So stuff is actually dried out. I know we thought we got a lot of rain last night, but that rain came with a handful of lightning ignitions, all that have stayed small so far and have crews on them, and I'm sure you'll hear more on the radio today from JD up there about these small fire starts, but we're getting a lot done in the communities, right? With Measure T, with this new wildfire prevention division, we've done like almost 9,000 defensible space inspections, so actually evaluating homes for what they could do for vegetation management. And just yesterday, we did a soft launch of a brand new home hardening program. So we're going to have a $500 rebate available for every existing home within our fire district. That'll help incentivize things like upgrading your vent screening, removing combustible fences. So kind of taking that coupled approach of what can you do to button up your house from embers and from fire, being able to connect to your house, pair it with defensible space and our green waste programs, and really work towards this kind of wildfire resilient Truckee mission. So it's really tough for us because we're working on PR, we're trying things, but it's super hard to communicate with this community. Right? It's like we have email lists, we use local media, we try to go with some national stories, tie it to these new insurance discounts that came in from the California Department of Insurance, but how do you communicate to visitors, to full-time residents? You got full-time residents in Sierra Meadows in a normal 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, all the way to a $12 million house in Martis Camp that's used 2 weeks out of the year. Right? And how do you reach all these diverse groups has always been a challenge, especially for the fire district. I know a lot of other agencies here too, so appreciate getting a lot of perspective today.
Yes, we'll talk to these guys. They'll get your message out, I'm sure. Okay, anybody else? If not, we will do the door prize. And you guys can't get up after we end because they're going to take a picture. It's important. All right, we're going to start with the Truckee Love Hat. Truckee Love Hat, a nice purple color. And that is going to go to 529864. 529864. All right. That's going to look good with the fire uniform. I like that. Next up is a Truckee t-shirt, and that will go to 5299 529905. 529905. Hey, okay. Coffee mug with a return ticket to Good Morning Truckee will go to 529885. 529885. Chris, all right. And finally, we have a Visit Truckee Tahoe gift card for $15. And it's a sustainable Truckee gift card, supports 62 local businesses. This month, VTT wants you to know that their Truckee Tahoe travel alert is updated daily and has links to the visitor guides to wildfire season and visitor guides to planned power outages. So go visit truckeetahoe.com/travel alert. And the gift card for $15 will go to 529890. 529890. Ooh, going once, twice. Okay, Mr. Opportunity. Here we go. 529898. All right, there you go. Congratulations. Thanks so much, everybody, for coming out. This is Good Morning Truckee. We like the new 8 o'clock start time, and we hope to see you next month. I'm Raven Whittington. Thanks again to all of our panelists. Let's give them a big round of applause. Enjoy your day. See you next month.